I'm Susan.
Hi, and I'm Amber, and we are two of the people that put together some graduation cards for you. So hopefully by now you have received some sort of graduation card saying congratulations on your upcoming graduation. So we'd like to start this video just by saying congratulations.
Congratulations
On this huge accomplishment that you have worked inevitably so hard to accomplish. We know that you probably have so many people in your life that are so proud of you, and whether you directly know us or not, please know that we share in the excitement of your accomplishment, because we know the just endurance and perseverance that it must have taken to get to this point. I have been a teacher for the last 20 years. I have been a middle school teacher, and I currently live in Kansas, and this is my daughter. She is 8 years old, and we have been quarantined at home for the last 3 weeks, and we heard that seniors potentially all across the nation will not be able to participate in some form of graduation ceremony. And this simply hurts our hearts. We know that it more than likely hurts your hearts as well. And we wanted to send our very heartfelt congratulations to you. And that is where this project idea came from. So I reached out through social media and asked my friends if they knew of graduates that were maybe missing out on their graduations this year, and asked if we could maybe put a card in the mail to some people. So my daughter and myself and my son as well, he's 10, have sat down and written out cards over the last several weeks, and you inevitably, or you have been a recipient of one of those cards if you are watching this video now. I want to give you a small little bit of context beyond this. Perhaps you might think of it as a lesson. However, if you are at the point of graduation, that means you have reached this huge milestone in which you can say, hey, time out, I've done my learning. Maybe you don't have to do any more learning. So when you hear this story, you don't have to walk away with anything. You don't have to be changed by it. So just know that. You could hit pause right now and walk away from this video, and I would never know. But I'm gonna share a little small story that happened to me in my past, and maybe it might change something in you. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I graduated in 1995 from high school. Oh, yeah, I know. Susan Harper, she calls those the 19s. At one point, she asked me if that was in the time of black and white. Yeah, I feel a little old, but that's okay. So I graduated in 1995, and I know that you don't get to have a graduation, and that hurts my heart as a teacher. It hurts my heart as a mom. It hurts my heart as an aunt. As anyone that has ever been connected to education, I understand the incredible significance of a graduation. Just know that the people that have helped and prayed for you to get to this point, they're grieving for you right now as well, okay? But I did get to go through my graduation, and the summer after my graduation, I want to say I sort of let loose on some of my rules that I had established in my life. Nothing crazy, nothing that would be considered breaking the law or completely challenging or changing who I was. But, maybe I was breaking curfew a little more than I had in the past. I know I was more disrespectful than I had ever been in my life. And I grew up in a single parent household. I grew up with my dad, and he raised me with quite a few very strong values, very strong beliefs about what was right and what was wrong. And that summer, maybe the lines on what was right and what was wrong and what was respectful and what was disrespectful, those lines began to blur a little bit for me, because I started to get a feel of some liberties that I had not felt before. And I don't know, I think I was worried about what college would feel like when I finally went there in the fall. Well, my dad picking up on this, and my dad was my person. He was my best friend. And you know, the end of summer came, and I remember one day he called me into the kitchen and there were 3 pots of boiling water on the stove. And he said, you know, Amber, come on in. I want you to sit down. We're going to have a conversation. And I'm like, oh man, Dad, I got to go to work. You know, I want to be with my friends. I have 100 things I want to do. I got to go to college next week. Why am we talking about whatever we're going to talk about? He's like, come on, just sit down, spend some time with me. And I hadn't spent much time with him that summer. So I sat down and we talked for about 20 minutes. And, you know, in those pots of water, in the first pot, he had put some eggs. And in the second pot, he put some long spaghetti noodles. In the third pot, he put some coffee grounds. Now we sat there and we talked for about 20 minutes about, I don't even know what that conversation was, just random stuff, probably things we needed to catch up on in the summer, or maybe, you know, plans we needed to make in order for me to get ready to go to college. I don't know. But at the end of the 20 minutes, he went over and very deliberately poured out the water and brought 2 plates over, one that had the eggs and one that had the pasta. And then he poured the brown liquid into a cup, which was coffee. Okay. So I know you've heard this story so many times about Doodah. But so he says to me, he says, Amber, what do you see? And I said, well, Dad, I see some eggs, pasta, and some coffee. I mean, barely the pieces of a meal. What are we doing here? And he goes, no, I'm gonna need you to look a little closer. And I go, okay, all right, okay. So we gotta look for a deeper meaning. What do we have here? So we have some eggs, some hard-boiled eggs. And he goes, He said, what happened to the eggs when I put them in the water? And I said, well, they're now hard-boiled. And he goes, exactly. He said, when I put them in the boiling water, he said, something that was fragile and easily broken. He said, when put in that environment, now it is hard. It's resistant to breaking. That environment hardened the egg. I said, okay, I get you, Dad. Okay, I get that. He said, well, okay, let's look at the pasta. He said, what happened to the pasta? I said, well, okay, so the pasta was rigid. It was very hard. And now it's all noodly. It's all flexible. And he said, that's exactly right. He goes, I put it in the same exact environment, and now it completely lost its shape. It lost all of its fundamental, core values, the characteristics that were pasta, its rigidity. It completely lost itself, and now it bends, it wiggles, it moves all over the place. It completely lost who it was. And I said, okay, kind of see where you're going here, Dad. And he goes, all right. And he shoves the coffee cup in front of me. He says, what do you see here? I said, okay, so the water turned the coffee beans, the coffee grounds, into coffee. He goes, no, Amber, you got it wrong. That's not what happened. And I said, what? And he goes, the coffee grounds changed the water. You see, with the eggs and the pasta, the environment, the adversity in which you submerged the items, the adversity changed the item. But in the third pot, the coffee grounds, the coffee beans, they worked to change the environment. They were exposed to the exact same adversity, and yet they worked to change the world around them. Man, my dad, with those beautiful eyes, sat across from me and he said, who are you going to be? When you're faced with adversity, when you're faced with challenges, are you going to be the person that hardens? Are you going to be the person that becomes flexible and, caves to everything that comes along? Or are you going to be the person that rises up and tries to make a difference in the environment around you? And I wouldn't decide completely for a couple more years, but it was that conversation that still anchors me to the decision to become a teacher that I would later make several years later. Now I ask you, you're the graduate, and this is a horrible time that you must be going through. I know you must be sad with graduations canceled, proms canceled. We're all sad. And that is called adversity. When you go through something that no one else around you can truly understand. But I ask you, will you let it harden you? Or will you let it weaken you? Or perhaps, is it possible that you could take this very extremely unique situation and turn it into something that will allow you to change the environment in front of you? And it may not be immediate. It may be years ahead of you. But it's waiting for you. It is, it's out there. Now, regardless if you take a lesson from this story or not, just know that there are so many people that are proud of you and have prayed for you and continue to pray for you in your success in the future. And I know that those people in your life want the best for you, just like my daddy wanted the best for me. And whether you have a graduation this year, this month, next year, or you spend your whole life chasing it, just know that the work that you did leading up to it, no one will ever take that away from you. All right, Harper, you want to say congratulations one more time?
Congratulations.
Take care, and I hope you enjoyed the card.